Sure. Pop out the window.
What in Jesus' name is doing this? Oh my God.
Oh my God!
Oh, look at the size of that thing! Oh, dude, that's not fair! That's not fair! That's not fair!
Not every trip into the wilderness ends the way it begins. One drone captures a towering unknown, while another forest reveals eerie singing and giant footprints. How would you explain what happened? The story behind this video and the person who uploaded it is what makes the footage especially interesting. Ken's Carpentry is not a channel centered on ghosts, monsters, or paranormal encounters. His usual content is practical and straightforward, mostly created for people interested in carpentry construction projects, building techniques, and occasionally simple videos of local wildlife such as bears. Because of that, there is nothing particularly mysterious about most of Ken's uploads. But in December 2022, one of his videos took an unexpected turn. While flying his drone around the neighborhood searching for bears and filming them, Ken noticed something unusual on the camera. Whatever it was, it did not appear to be a bear. Wanting a better look, he guided the drone closer to the figure. That closer view only made the scene even more confusing. The shape looked large, upright, and unusual enough that many viewers began debating what Ken had actually recorded.
All right, so I wanted to just show you a road near where I live. Curious if there's any bears down there. It's the first part of December, so typically there you don't see them. I have a few minutes, so we'll go for a little quick ride and take a look. Well, the bumps are certainly out. You can see the sign over there. It is aptly named Bear Hollow. Let's go down and take a look. Saw a mother bear and two cubs this past spring. I don't know where they would be now. Whoa, what is that? What? I'm going to get out and take a look. What is that? Gotta turn around, I gotta get back there. I'll shut the camera off for a minute. I'm going to use the drone. What the world? What is that? What? No way. Are you serious? What is that? What the world?
One part of the footage that generated the most discussion was the audio, especially the crunching sounds that were believed to come from the figure. The figure itself appears noticeably large, and its slow, heavy footsteps match the type of movement many people commonly associate with Bigfoot stories. That makes the footage difficult for some viewers to dismiss completely. An outdoor recording sound can be difficult to interpret. Distance, ground conditions, and the surrounding environment can all affect the way footsteps or cracking noises are heard on camera. Still, if the footage was staged, then the person wearing the costume did a remarkably convincing job of behaving like the legendary creature. Whether it was a real unidentified figure, someone in disguise, or something else entirely, the video leaves just enough uncertainty to keep people debating. So what do you think Ken's drone really captured that day? This unsettling video was later uploaded online after being shared by a man from South Carolina, USA. The footage shows him reacting to strange sounds coming from his own backyard, prompting him to step outside and see what was happening. What he discovered was captured on camera, and the scene immediately drew people's attention. The damage left on the tree looked severe, with broken branches that appeared far beyond what an ordinary backyard disturbance would normally cause. To create the level of destruction seen in the footage, the uploader believed it would require the strength of something like a gorilla or a chimpanzee. That comparison made the video especially shocking to many viewers because the setting was not a jungle or a wildlife enclosure, but an ordinary backyard in South Carolina. To be clear, this case was not connected to the escaped lab monkeys from South Carolina.
I hope you can hear this. It sounds like gorillas fighting in the tree. They're breaking limbs bigger around than me. I've never seen anything like it in my life. This is the second time I've come over here trying to figure out what it was. They started breaking limbs off and throwing them at me. And I still cannot figure out what it is. Look, they're ruining this freaking place. What in God's name is it? It's bigger than me, whatever it is. Because it's breaking limbs off that I will. Look, see, he's coming right above me right here. He's fixing to throw something at me, whatever it is. What in God's name? Look, that's bigger than me. Look at that, look at that, look at that, look at that, look at that. What in Jesus' name is doing this? Oh my God, he just took half the tree down. Something, oh my God, oh my God. Oh, it's gotta be a, I don't even think a bear would have a chance in Hades and it doing this. And he is pissed. Yeah, that's a healthy tree. Maybe even 12 inches in diameter that he just broke because he's pissed because I'm getting close to him. I think I'm gonna bounce because I think he just hit the ground, which means he's about to face me on foot just because they're mad. My God, look at the tree he just freaking broke in half.
The focus was the strange noise, the damaged tree, and the question of what kind of force could have caused it. When viewing tree damage on video, it can be difficult to judge the actual amount of force involved. A branch may appear solid on camera, but its age, moisture, existing cracks, and angle can make it much weaker than it seems. Even so, the footage leaves viewers with an uneasy feeling because the sounds and damage seem difficult to explain with a simple answer. Maybe it was an animal, maybe the tree was weaker than it appeared, or perhaps an important detail is missing from the footage. What do you think was really moving around in that backyard? They had no idea this short video would become so widely shared online. Before long, it had reached hundreds of thousands of views and sparked intense debate among viewers.
Where is he?
He's coming on. He's there. He's gonna pop up in there. There he is. He's popping up.
Let's see him.
He's over here now.
Oh shit, he went too fast. I didn't catch him this time.
What makes the footage especially interesting is the way the figure moves. It travels quickly with unusually wide arm swings that immediately caught people's attention. It is uncommon to see a person move like that, which only made the clip seem even more unusual. Some viewers believe the sighting could be genuine, while others are convinced it was staged. In short, video clips' movement can be easy to misinterpret because of camera angle distance and speed. Even so, the way this figure moves is unusual enough to keep people debating. So, what do you think it really was? This footage was recorded last September during a 6-day canoe trip with friends on Lake Ashigan in Minnesota. One afternoon, two friends left the campsite to walk along a nearby trail and take scenic photographs. While they were there, they suddenly heard strange sounds coming from the nearby bushes. The noises were unusual enough that they quickly started recording, hoping to capture whatever was making them.
Did he catch anything earlier? No, he didn't. He got some hints though. He's been trolling out there. What? Oh, did you hear that? Dude, that's like something's knocking, dude. That's not a woodpecker. What is that? Do you have your camera? I can't see anything. I can't see it. Dude, is that a bear? Diz, is that a bear? Get your camera. Come here. I can't see it. Can you see it? Oh, look at the size of that thing. Dude, that's not a bear. That's not a bear. That's not a bear.
At the beginning of the clip, 2 loud wood knocks can be clearly heard. It is also worth noting that the group appeared familiar with Bigfoot-related reports and stories, which may explain why the sounds immediately caught their attention. At first, they believed the large, fast-moving figure they spotted was a bear, but that changed when they saw it running upright through the forest on 2 legs. The figure appeared to have an enormous stride. According to the footage, only 2 steps seemed to cover more than 5 feet, making its movement look unusually powerful and incredibly fast. In the slow-motion replay, viewers get a clearer look at a tall black figure moving from left to right through the trees. Its movement is unusual, fascinating, and honestly a little unsettling to watch. In forest environments, loud knocks can sometimes be difficult to identify. Echoes, falling branches, animal movement, or impacts against hollow wood can all make sounds seem louder or closer than they actually are. Perhaps it was a bear viewed from a misleading angle, perhaps it was a person moving in an unusual way, or maybe there is another explanation. What do you think they really saw near that trail? This image shows an interesting example of an alleged Bigfoot sighting. The location appears to be a remote wooded area matching the type of environment where Bigfoot is often reported. In the photograph, a dark, broad-shouldered figure can be seen moving through the brush. At first glance, it appears strongly built with a slightly hunched posture and long arms, details that are frequently associated with Sasquatch reports. However, the figure's leg-to-torso ratio appears closer to that of a human than the longer torso commonly described in many Bigfoot eyewitness accounts. That detail makes the image more difficult to accept without question. Even though this is only a single photograph, the posture is still worth examining. Bigfoot is often described as walking with a smooth stride and noticeable arm swing. Here the figure appears to lean slightly forward, but it is difficult to determine whether its movement truly matches the biomechanics seen in famous footage like the Patterson-Gimlin film from 1967. Another possible point of concern is the fur. Real animals usually have hair with uneven texture, color, and thickness. In this image, the covering on the figure appears too uniform, which may suggest a costume rather than natural fur. A still photograph can capture a body in an unusual position, making it difficult to judge movement from a single frame alone. The image certainly feels eerie, but there are still too many unknowns to consider it convincing proof. So, what do you think this image really shows? In June 2022, a chilling video from Russia appeared online showing a stranded driver who claimed something was following him while he was stuck beside the road at night. The video uploaded to YouTube by Traversa shows him using a night vision camera to record glowing eyes watching from a snow-covered forest. As he moved through the snowy landscape, the figure seemed to follow and intimidate him, although it was never seen clearly. The Rocky Mountain Sasquatch organization later shared the footage, suggesting it could be possible evidence of the legendary creature. Some viewers believed it might have been a Yeti Bigfoot, or even a dark spirit, while skeptics argued it may have been a person wearing glasses and crawling close to the ground. Night vision can make reflective eyes or glass appear especially bright in the dark. Even so, the footage remains unusual enough to keep the debate alive. This unusual video was reportedly submitted by someone serving in the US Army. The footage was recorded from a military helicopter using a thermal imaging camera, making the scene even more intriguing. In the clip, a very large humanoid figure can be seen running through a wooded area. Its movement appears broad and almost human, but its size, long arms, and extended stride make it difficult to identify. At one point, the figure turns and seems to glance toward the helicopter for a brief moment. It then appears to continue running away, possibly startled by the loud noise of the aircraft. Unfortunately, the original footage contains no audio, so that detail cannot be confirmed. Thermal cameras display heat differences instead of normal visual detail, which can sometimes make shapes and distances appear unusual. Even so, the footage remains intriguing. Was it a person distorted by thermal imaging, or something much harder to explain? The deeper he moved into the backcountry, the more cut off the surroundings felt. So when several shapes appeared along a distant ridge, one unsettling question became impossible to dismiss. Who or what was watching from there? On June 18th, 2026, Darren from Outlaw Country was again exploring well beyond the main trails, miles from the nearest route, and seeking the isolation his longtime audience knows he prefers. After hiking for several hours through the wilderness, he selected a quiet spot where he could sit and read Bigfoot Encounter emails submitted by viewers. While Darren was reading, subtle movements seemed to emerge along the ridge behind him. As though he sensed something nearby, Darren stopped and looked toward the hillside. Only moments earlier, multiple distant shapes appeared to become visible in the background.
And I'll be in touch for sure. If I can sneak away for 4 days of fishing with you, I'd love to do that. It would be a blast. It's hard for me to remember. I feel like I'm missing stuff when I try to freewheel these emails. So let's get into some emails. Hi Darren, I hope I've spelled your name correctly. You sure have. I live kind of between Gatlinburg and Sevierville, kind of in a rural area, which is how I prefer it. I once saw a wild man last fall on a hike near Gatlinburg. I had my dog Ella with me. We were about 3 hours into a 7 or 8 hour hike when she stopped on the trail and started growling at a thick patch of the forest.
From a great distance, people or animals positioned on a hillside are often difficult to identify because important features become less visible. Uneven terrain and partial cover may also distort their actual size and form. Were the shapes merely other hikers who had somehow reached such remote backcountry? Or was something else observing Darren from the ridge above? Watch carefully and reach your own conclusion. What do you believe was standing there? Located in Northumberland, England, Harwood Forest features thick woodland twisting paths and peaceful surroundings. For years, hikers, campers, and outdoor enthusiasts have regularly traveled there to experience its quiet, natural atmosphere. To Damien, who runs the YouTube channel Fell Wanderer, the woodland also served as a destination for bushcraft trips and remote camping. His usual content typically presented outdoor living as peaceful. However, on December 1st, 2014, Damien posted a compilation revealing a much darker experience. The video combined several unexplained incidents and unsettling findings captured across multiple separate visits during that year's latter half. Initially, the noticeable differences seemed minor. Damien started detecting odd echoes, unfamiliar impressions on the ground, and unusual periods when the woods became strangely silent. At first, he considered ordinary causes. Wildlife or natural conditions might explain those noises, while certain clues could have sometimes appeared far more significant than they actually were. Over the following months, though, these incidents steadily became increasingly difficult to dismiss. Damien started documenting additional discoveries, hoping his longtime audience could potentially spot overlooked details or provide a different possible explanation. Among the footage's most unusual details was distant singing clearly recorded more than once. The tune appeared to originate somewhere far within the woodland, yet Damien was never able to locate precisely where it began. Sometimes snapping branches nearby followed the singing. This created the impression that something could be moving through the area, even though no clear figure ever appeared. Unexplained noises were only one troubling element within the entire account. Damien captured photographs of abnormally large tracks embedded in the woodland soil. In the recording, these impressions looked bigger than ordinary human footprints and appeared freshly made. Next came the most unsettling discoveries. Across separate visits, Damien encountered sheep remains in various isolated sections of the woods. Finding dead animals in nature is common, yet some of these discoveries seemed more difficult to understand. Some remains looked as though they had been dragged upward into trees with the bodies suspended above ground. Damien filmed and photographed them, later adding the images to his compilation. By this point, distant singing, snapping limbs, oversized tracks, and sheep remains formed a pattern of incidents that produced far more questions than explanations. Damien noted that every incident could reasonably have an ordinary explanation when considered entirely alone. Yet, experiencing them all together within one forest ultimately made everything appear considerably stranger. Certain viewers believed the collected clues might indicate an unidentified animal secretly inhabiting the surrounding woodland. Others thought the incidents were completely separate and could instead result from ordinary wildlife environmental noises or errors in interpreting Damien's observations. The footage generated substantial online debate. Some people emphasized the oversized footprints and mysterious singing, whereas others argued that ordinary forest conditions might account for much of what appeared. Still, no explanation fully accounts for every part of Damien's experience. Maybe every unusual occurrence had an unrelated and ordinary explanation. Yet when unsettling sounds, oversized footprints, and disturbing findings repeatedly emerge within one location, naturally avoiding suspicion becomes increasingly difficult. What do you believe was actually occurring throughout Harwood Forest? While walking alone through the woods in daylight, a hiker catches a quick flicker of movement near the edge of his sight. He pauses briefly before pulling out his phone. Feeling his pulse rise, he heads toward an open patch nearby for a clearer look. He lifts the camera at the right moment and captures what appears to be an enormous human-shaped figure moving quietly through the trees. Unable to tell whether it is an animal, a trick of the light, or something tied to Bigfoot stories, the hiker keeps recording. The unidentified figure continues deeper into the forest before vanishing. The brief footage provides too few details for any definite conclusion. Was it an ordinary subject distorted by the surroundings, or did the hiker film something far more difficult to explain? This next case comes from the YouTube channel Rocky Mountain Sasquatch, which explores reported Bigfoot sightings in high-altitude regions throughout the western United States and Canada. In the Wasatch Mountains, two men were standing in a valley at roughly 4,200 feet above sea level, while using a powerful telescope to observe a frozen ridge more than 9,000 feet in elevation. That was when they spotted a strange dark figure moving across the snowy slope. At first it looked like nothing more than a small dark shape in the distance, but as they kept watching, the figure appeared to travel sideways and then uphill through the snow, with unusual speed and remarkably smooth movement.
There's something wandering across the face of that.
The footage had been submitted to the channel by a man named John. As the camera zooms closer, the figure appears dark from head to foot, taking long strides while its arms swing low as it moves across snow and rocky terrain. The figure continues moving without any clear pause or visible sign of fatigue. From that distance, no clothing or climbing equipment can be clearly identified. Later, a helicopter pilot who had watched the video flew to the same ridge where the figure had been recorded. The camera looked down at the snow and captured a long line of tracks, positioned almost directly in front of one another. The unusual pattern and spacing of the tracks added another layer of mystery to the original sighting. Traveling through deep snow at high altitude normally requires much greater effort because every step forces the body to work harder. However, distant footage alone makes it difficult to accurately judge the snow depth, the slope, or the true speed of a moving figure. Was this simply a person or an animal viewed from a deceptive distance? Or did something much larger actually cross that frozen ridge? This case concludes with footage submitted to Bigfoot Evidence in January 2015 by a witness named Matt. The video was recorded during a canoe trip through the swamp channels of Lettuce Lake Park. At first, the figure moving through the dense marsh vegetation was believed to be a bear. The area was heavily overgrown and difficult to see through clearly, with reeds and low branches blocking much of the view. The sighting was later reported to a park ranger who explained that bears were rarely seen in the deeper sections of the swamp. After reviewing the footage, the ranger was also unable to identify the figure. The clip was later featured alongside a Fox 13 report about regional Bigfoot stories, and including public remarks attributed to Mayor Bob Buckhorn regarding similar sightings. On closer examination, the figure appears to move with long arm swings, and a smooth path through the thick vegetation. Its movement does not clearly resemble any known local animal, but the subject remains far away and is never approached. Traveling through a swamp can make animals appear unusual because water mud and dense vegetation may conceal parts of the body and alter how movement looks from a distance. The footage remains unexplained with no clear identification of what was moving through the swamp that day. Was it simply a familiar animal seen under challenging conditions, or something that still remains unidentified? One night in the Appalachian Mountains, a home security camera captured a disturbing scene. In the footage, a dark human-like figure appears within the shadows, with two glowing eyes visible in the darkness. Moments later, the figure vanishes from sight. Some animals have reflective tissue behind their eyes that can cause them to appear to glow when illuminated by infrared or other light sources during the night. However, the figure's overall shape remains difficult to identify based on the footage alone. Its unusual appearance and sudden disappearance left the family with far more questions than answers. Was this simply an animal viewed from an unusual angle, or could it be connected to the Bigfoot stories surrounding these mountains? A family living in the Appalachian woods started noticing holes appearing in the fence behind their home. Wanting to find out what was causing the damage, they reviewed the footage from their security camera. What they discovered did not resemble an ordinary animal and left them uncertain about what had been recorded. Although they were frightened, the family was also curious, so they decided to share the footage online. Security cameras can sometimes distort size and distance, especially when the subject is moving or partially hidden from view. The family was still unable to determine what caused the damage. In such a remote location, who or what do you think was responsible? The Ohio tree shaker footage has remained one of the most widely discussed pieces of possible Bigfoot evidence on the internet for many years. Most viewers are familiar only with the well-known moment itself. However, several clips from the investigation reveal what happened before the sighting that later sparked so much debate. These earlier recordings provide additional context about what the investigators were experiencing as their search continued. The investigation ultimately led to the footage that became well known throughout the Bigfoot community and beyond. Take a careful look at the footage and consider the entire sequence.
Right up ahead of us here, I just saw two figures walking. And I'm hearing... We're gonna get up there as close as we can. Hopefully we can get video. Holy crap. Chris. There they go. I missed it. There they are. Chris. There's two Bigfoot right up there. Holy crap. We gotta get closer. There they are. We gotta get out of here. We're too close. We gotta get out of here.
Does it show possible evidence of something still unknown, or could there be a more ordinary explanation? A quiet night beside a wooded property takes an unsettling turn when several unexplained sounds are captured from beyond the tree line. The recording leaves one question unanswered. What was out there? A Reddit user known as No Drama Bigfoot shares footage from a home security camera placed near the edge of the property. During the night, the camera records several unusual sounds coming from the surrounding woods. Deep knocks, distant howls, and unfamiliar vocalizations interrupt the silence, making it difficult to determine what might be hidden deeper inside the forest. As the sounds continue, the footage creates an uneasy feeling that something could be nearby, even though nothing can be clearly seen. night, sound can travel long distances and be difficult to pinpoint in dense woods. Were these simply normal forest sounds, or was something hidden beyond the camera's view? A woman is hiking through the woods after dark while using her phone to record the area around her. During the walk, she notices a huge dark figure standing completely still among the trees. She zooms in for a closer look. The figure appears extremely tall, and its ape-like outline resembles the familiar image commonly associated with Bigfoot. Even though she's clearly frightened, the woman keeps the camera aimed toward it. The unknown figure remains hidden in the darkness as she continues recording. After a short time, it slowly walks away and disappears deeper into the forest.
Feel it. Oh my God. Shit. Oh my.
Phone cameras often lose detail when zooming in on distant subjects at night. In low light, blurred edges and deep shadows can make a person or object appear very different from its actual appearance. The darkness and poor visibility make the encounter difficult to judge with certainty. Was she watching an ordinary figure distorted by the conditions, or did she record something much harder to explain? That's it for tonight. Which moment creep? Drop it in the comments. Have your own story, share it with us, and stay tuned. The next one is even darker.